Hey YouTube, I'm Chris, and it's now December 24th, 9 o'clock in the morning. It's 70 degrees inside, cold winter's day, and it's a perfect day to warm up the house. I'm going to see if I can get that temperature on up to maybe 73 degrees by showing you how to make baby back ribs in the oven. So we're going to see about getting it warmed all up in here on a cold winter's day. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get our oven turned on here. We turn on the oven light, and we're going to set our oven down to 325, and we're going to let that warm up. And down in here in the oven, which I will open it up here. I already have the racks installed here in the oven, and I put because I'm going to have two halves of ribs, and one half of the rib is going to be thicker than the other, and the thicker part requires more time. So in order to have the ribs come out at the same time together, fully cooked, I'll put the thicker part in the very bottom rack, and the thinner part, which my wife will eat, because she'll tend to eat the thinner half of it, and I go on the upper part of that rack there. So we'll let that warm up and get that on up to temperature. And so meanwhile, I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to show you how to prepare the ribs for the oven. So first of all, we're going to get a large platter here, and I got some ribs that I bought at Meijer, and the best baby back ribs that I know of to make are going to be coming from Kroger. Kroger tends to make the best meat, and but we didn't go to Kroger, so the second best that I found on sale is going to be over at Meijer, and so I'll show you those. I'll get those out of the fridge here, and I'll show you about getting those all prepared for the oven. And also, you might be wondering how I'm going to make those ribs in the oven. Well, what I have here I can show you is, I'll zoom out here. It's my very first moving video, by the way. So I got these two pans, and I got these two cookie sheet pans, and they have racks on them. And so what I'm going to do, and I'll show you here as I go as well, I'm going to take these off, and in order to have the pans not get all a mess, I'm going to get some aluminum wrap here, or some aluminum foil I should say, and I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a large piece of aluminum foil on the bottom of this pan. I'm going to kind of get it all down and covered in here, and then I'm going to put this rack in here, so when it cooks, all of the sauce and whichever else is just going to collect on that aluminum foil and not make a great big mess, and it will help to make the whole entire big house smell great of barbecue. And also, while I'm here, I'll show you this old rack. These are really designed for cookies, but I'm not sure if you can see this very well, but on this rack, this has been used a few times. It's got some rust, it's got some looks kind of rusty, and so when they get to be like that, I don't like to use these, so I'll probably just toss that out. And so these only cost a good couple of dollars or so a piece, so I can go ahead and I can buy these at Walmart or Meijer or Kroger or someplace like that for several dollars a piece. So I'm going to put this one here. I'll put this rack on here. And this has to be just, you know, racks, and these are going to be non-stick, or they should be non-stick, so they should be easy to clean off later. And so now I'm going to go ahead and get some ham, some non-stick ham. Now, even though these racks are going to be non-stick, I'm going to go ahead and give it a really good coating. And then that way it'll come off the racks a little bit better when they're done. So now we're just about ready to show you. I got those racks all prepared to go. And I'm back over here to the platter, and I will show you about go ahead and getting these ribs prepared. I got the ribs in the fridge. So you can see here, Meijer, and so these are the big, long baby back ribs. So I'll just pick a side here. I'll take these out. Take it on out of the package. I'll zoom out here so you can see a little bit better. So let's see here. Here we go. Let's try that. So I'm going to go ahead and get this plastic off, and I've already washed my hands, so that's the critical important thing, obviously, is handling all this stuff. You get your hands really good and washed clean. So we'll go ahead and get this plastic taken off. So if I made a mess, then that's okay. That will clean up. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn these over, and you kind of see this membrane part here. Well, in order for the ribs to cook properly in the oven, as the heat rises on up from the bottom, this membrane, it tends to block the heat and won't cook properly very well. So this whole membrane part has to be taken off in order for the heat to get up and through the bottom of the ribs and cook properly. So I got my pocket knife, or butter knife, whichever. Probably butter knife works better. And what you need to do is, you might be thinking about using, this steak knife. Well, you can. The bad news about that is when you're trying to take this membrane off, it's just going to cut real easy, and you never get it off. It will just be in pieces. So the best thing to do, use your butter knife and just try and go along a bone, maybe somewhere halfway through, and do your absolute very best to try and start to pry off the membrane best you can. And you can go either bottom to top or top to bottom, whichever might be easier. I probably should have went top to bottom. But the thing is trying to get all of this membrane off as best as you can. If you have some of it left on, then that's not a real big deal, just as long as you get the vast majority of it off, like that. And that's gonna be a lot of it right there. Now for some on the end, that's the oven. The oven's all up to temperature now to 325. So if you have some on the end, on the end here, then that's not a great big deal. You could try to work it off if you want to, if you have the patience. But as long as you get the vast majority of it all off, then that's the important thing, and throw that away. And the other cool thing, the other nice thing that makes it easier that way is I had these ribs frozen for the past several weeks. So I took them out of the freezer several days ago to defrost, and so it makes it much easier to cut and take the membrane off and all of that. So you could go on here if you really wanted to bad enough and try and pick off the rest of it, but it's not going to make all that much of a difference. So like I said, this is the thicker part, which does require a lot more time to cook properly, and this is the thinner part, and this doesn't take quite so long. So I'll put this thinner half up on the upper rack, and the much thicker, beefier part, half that I'll be eating, on the very bottom. So then that way they'll cook the same for the same time. So you get your steak knife here, and you just kind of go along, just try and pick a half best you can, and you know, somewhere in the middle best as you're able to, and just go on ahead and try to cut this in half. So it's going to be pretty much half and half, and so hopefully you can able to see that. So you got that cut in half there. So now we're going to move over here to the cooking racks, and so I'm going to show you here. Let's see. Try and get this where I want it. So okay, so we can start with that. So we're going to take you can pick and choose whichever side that you want. So what I usually like to do is I'll take the thinner half of the ribs, and I'll put it on this pan, like that. And then I'll just have to make a mental note as to which one is which. And I'll take the much beefier one, put it on this one, like that. And so now what I'll do is I'll get some onion powder. And for me, I can never have enough onion powder to go around. Let's see. So I'm going to use I got some McCormick onion powder, and what I'll do is I'll sprinkle a load of this McCormick Grill Master Smokehouse Maple. This is usually the best one that tastes very good. And you can use mesquite or whichever one that you would like to use. And just in case I run out halfway through, I've got another whole bunch of it, and I can use that. And I'm just going to start really covering it all up really well. And whatever doesn't stick on, it's going to just fall on the pan, and that's not a real big deal if it does that. That's why that aluminum foil is there. And all this onion powder, as well as the marinade sauce, is really going to sink in, and it's going to make the meat about pretty much melt right off the bone. I mean, it's going to just come off clean off the bone when we're all done getting this cooked. So I've got that pretty much covered all up, best as it's going to get. And now I'm going to get some marinade sauce. And for the marinade sauce we're going to use we have this Masterpiece Marinade Classic Steakhouse. This stuff tastes the best. So what I do, or what you can do, you can use about pretty much any marinade sauce that you would like. You just get this bowl here, and with your little brush, and just pour in a good deal of it, because it's going to take quite a bit of that, if not all of it, to cover all up the ribs really good. And so I've almost finding out that I never pour in quite enough. So we'll see how well that goes. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to gop it on there, and I'm just going to let it just gop on there, just really thick and heavy, and just let it just Probably enough for now. Got it all, both of them nice and covered on. And next is going to be the other part, the other piece of it that's going to make the whole entire house smell all up really good of barbecue. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start to sprinkle on this smokehouse maple seasoning as thick and as much as the ribs and marinade sauce can hold, and the rest of it will just kind of sprinkle down all inside that on the aluminum foil. And when that cooks, that's going to make the whole house smell of barbecue for the next good probably several days, if not maybe almost a week. So I ran out of that pretty quick, so I'll get my other one here. So I'll open up the other one, so we're all set to go. So we're going to sprinkle it all on here, good and heavy, as much as it's going to hold on. And as it cooks, as the heat kind of comes on up from the bottom, it's going to make all of those seasonings kind of just blend in and cook in with all of that marinade. So that should be good. Sometimes I kind of go overly. I have to get another couple pieces of aluminum foil, and you can use pretty much about any aluminum foil. You know, this works pretty good. So use this. And you're going to cover it all over best as you can, because that will kind of keep the heat inside, and to help it to cook properly, it'll kind of help to contain the heat. Okay, so now we got them all good and covered. You may have your own better method of covering those up to make them stay on. So we got them all nice and covered on, and so we got the oven at 325 and it's ready to go. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to put these in the oven. And like I said, the thicker half will take longer to cook, so I'm going to put that in the very bottom. Alright, so now we got these in the oven. How much time? So, because these are going to be baby back ribs at 325, I'm going to do is it's going to take a total of a good 4.5 hours, and that's going to include a good 30 minutes or so to have barbecue sauce on there too, and I'll show you that here in just a little bit. So I'm going to have it for a good 4 hours, and I'll say 32 minutes, because the timer on this oven, it might be the same for yours, the timer tends to be off by a minute or two. So you might have the same thing with your oven. So so about a good 4.5 hours, give or take a minute or two. Alright, so now, we got the time set at 3:25 and for 4.5 hours, so maybe about a good 40 minutes left to go or so, and that'll give me some time to go ahead and really load on all of the barbecue sauce, and the barbecue sauce will sit on there and simmer for about a good 30 minutes. So we'll be back here in a little bit and I'll show you that, and I'll kind of go from there. Okay, so now we're back for part 2 on making baby back ribs in the oven on a cold day, and the heat is turned off, or it's put on hold, so we're already at a good 73 degrees inside it. Makes it pretty nice from the oven. So we're getting close to putting barbecue sauce on the ribs, so we have 45 more minutes left, and you might see it looks like smoke coming out of the vent, and that's normal. That's where all of that marinade sauce was dripping all over on that aluminum foil on the bottom of the pan, and so all of that cooks and burns. So it's not so much the ribs. The edges of the ribs do tend to get a little crispy, a little bit overcooked just on the very ends, which is normal. But the rest of it is definitely cooking as it should. So no big, not only baby back ribs out of the oven, but we're also going to be having some of these very delicious Friday's potato bites. And I'm not sure why these are not available anymore. I have not been able to see these in the store for months, but anyway, but these are really good. So we're going to be making these potato bites in the convection oven, which is also in the microwave. So I'll show you that. Microwave here. I'm going to go ahead and put this rack in here, and as you can see, that's the convection part, so it's perfectly safe having that rack in there. So work a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and put this on convection, and so we're going to select over to manual, and so we're using the rack there, so we're going to turn this on to 425, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to press start, and it's going to preheat, which will take quite a while. Hopefully with the next good 15-20 minutes that will be up to temperature, and we can put the potato bites in there for cooking. So it is for going ahead and cooking this little packet of sauce. This is going to be the bacon and ranch dressing for the potato bites. So we'll put this in a little pot of water, and then we'll just turn this on over to low, and thereabouts. And right by the time that those potato bites are coming out of that convection oven, that sauce pack will be good, heated, and good to go. So we got that. So next, what we're going to do is, on this little pan here that I got from the toaster oven, we're going to put the potato bites on there. And because the convection oven blows air out on the one side to try to make sure that the aluminum foil is going to be smoothed out so the heat doesn't get blocked. So we're going to put more of this spray on there. And then we're going to have these potato bites. On here like that. And when they're in the convection oven baking about a good halfway through, we'll take them out, rotate them around, and put them in for the remainder of the time in the oven. So it's going to be about time to put the barbecue sauce, and I'm using this kind of barbecue sauce. You can use about, whichever one that you would like. And so I'm going to go ahead and move the camera out a little bit. I'm going to add in quite a lot of it in here, because this will go quite a ways. May have to pour in more. And be set to eat. So we'll be back soon. Alright, well, we're back and we're about ready to take the ribs out of the oven. It's now 74 and inside, and here in a little while it's probably going to be up towards a good 75, which is kind of nice about having ribs in the oven and providing lots of heat. So the ribs are now done. And see here where the timers went off, and so we're going to go ahead and we're going to take these ribs on out of the oven here and get them served. And also these are the potato bites, and those are about done, so we're going to take those out. You can see the ribs are looking really well for me anyway. So those are my wife's ribs there, and I want to show you, see if I can show it to you, as I kind of start to, now like I said, the ends, because they kind of be pretty thin on the meat on the ends, it's going to be a little well cooked, but you can see just how easily the meat just peels right off that bone like it does. And so that's what's nice about these ribs in the oven. You get plenty of heat on a cold winter day, and you get to eat all of the delicious meat right off those bones. And so now the So here we have a really nice little dinner to go here for two, and like I mentioned, that that meat it just steams and peels right off the bone, and so the same thing for hers too. So we got our delicious potato bites, and so that pretty much concludes our video for the moment on how to make baby back ribs out of the oven, and hope you like it and try it yourself and see what you think.